I wanted to spend some time on this game right quick. Auburn beat Tennessee 30-17 last night. I got more emails and DMs about this one game in a sea of emails and DMs yesterday than any single game. You think to yourself, the JT Daniels deal at Georgia, Ohio State barely survives against Indiana, and yet it's Auburn, Tennessee, which tells me a lot of you cared about this game. So let's spend a couple of minutes on it here. I am so tired of watching Tennessee lose games the same way. I can watch someone lose, but the same way over and over again, they got no business, do the Volunteers, running for 222 total yards at Auburn and losing by double digits. So I pull up the box score from this thing a little while ago, just to make sure my eyes didn't deceive me. And sure enough, they didn't. Are you aware of a few things here? Are you aware Tennessee outgained Auburn by 79 yards? They had more first downs, 28-23. They had more total plays, 74-64. It was a 6.3 to 6.0 yards per play edge for Tennessee. Each team went 9 of 15 on third down. What happened? Because this sounds like an evenly played game, right? How in the world does one team lose this thing by 2 touchdowns, nearly 2 touchdowns? Well, there's a 14-point swing where Tennessee, as I said, with Eric Gray steadily running the ball down Auburn's throat, getting the red zone with a quarterback who has been turnover prone all year. What are we going to do? We're going to throw it across the middle. That's, of course, what we're going to do. And we're going to throw a pick six in the end zone. And it's going to be a 10 to a 14-point swing in a game that ends up being a 30-17 final. As I said, Eric Gray, 22 runs, 173 yards. That's nearly 8 yards per carry, and yet it doesn't even matter. No one remembers it because you lose by 13 points because turnovers are death in football, especially when they generate points right quick, like on that play, on the actual turnover. Harrison Bailey came in this game. It was too late. He promptly, of course, leads a touchdown drive. You could say, well, that's in garbage time. Defense is different. Yeah, it may be. But again, the same things that have cost Tennessee before were the same things that cost him yesterday. Yes, it aggravates me. I'm not even wearing an orange shirt like you guys. I'm sitting there wearing my white shirt or whatever I was wearing yesterday. But yet I feel your pain. I know a lot of you. I feel your pain. I'm in Tennessee, so I'm situated here in Nashville. But yet, no, I have not budged on Pruitt for much more fundamental reasons that I stated at the beginning of the year. Been going back and forth with a couple of people in the last hour about this. Nothing about this. If I was not already sold on you not being the guy before the year, nothing about this year is going to change my mind. Franklin at Penn State, I'm going to talk about him in a second. He could go 0 for the season. Wouldn't change my mind on him. Same with Pruitt. I was not off of his bandwagon before the season. Therefore, by default, there's nothing that can happen in an extreme external factor year that's going to change that. Having said that, I can be highly aggravated at many aspects of this program, which I am. But I'm just not making, if I'm an athletic director, I'm not. But if I am, I'm not making permanent decisions due to extreme temporary external factors. But as for Auburn, because they actually won the game here, you know, sometimes if you live where I lived growing up and you live in a more rural part of, well, any state, but I lived in a more rural part of Georgia, you get out at night and you park the car in the driveway, you turn it off, lock it up. In that time where you're walking from your car to the front door, you know, maybe it's 20, 30 yards. Every now and then, you'll just hear something over in the bushes. Just random noise. It's something over there. You look. You can't see what it is. You turn on the flashlight on the iPhone. You still can't see it. You just know something's over there. So you just hasten your walk, and you get to the front door, and you lock it up, and you're good. That noise is Auburn football. That's what they are right now. Do you know they're 5-2? This is the most anonymous 5-2 team in America. 9 of 15 on third down yesterday. That's a huge deal for them. Third down has been an albatross around this team's neck at various points this year, and yet they were big. Yesterday, they were big on third down, and they get a win 30-17. And keep in mind, as much as I talk about how mismanaged the Tennessee offense was, you can't lose a game unless someone beats you. Auburn did what it took to beat Tennessee, and they did it without their best offensive player. Tank Bigsby went down early in this game, and yet Auburn still found a way to carry the ball 165 yards on 38 carries without your stalwart running back. That's admirable. So that's the good news, okay? The next news, I'm not going to call it bad news, the follow-up news is Auburn may very well be about to play the number 1 and number 2 teams in the SEC to wrap up their year. At the very worst, number 1 and number 3. Alabama, the Iron Bowl, is this week. Keep in mind, this week. Alabama opens as a 24-point favorite against Auburn at home, by the way. And then they wrap the season up with Texas A&M. So, I mean, at the very least, there is no hot seat talk. That's what I want to emphasize. Because a lot of folks thought by this time it would be Gus Malzahn with all the hot seat talking. Listen, there are a lot of bad news that came out for Auburn today, so firing the football coach, all due respect, needs to be the least of your concerns. There have been some of those issues, if you will, around the football program in the past. There aren't right now. You notice that? You notice that? Let me tell you something. Let me just carry the water for Malzahn here for a second. I know Auburn football. I know a lot of people close to Auburn football. I know a lot of folks who sling allegations left and right. Not much of that happening around Auburn right now, relatively speaking. Not much of that happening around Auburn. So you could criticize Malzahn for losing the football game occasionally here or there. If you want to look at some things that matter more than just the result on Saturday and then juxtapose it to other programs in your athletic department, I think I'm being pretty clear here. Hats off to Gus Malzahn. So Tennessee is a 10-point favorite, by the way, against Vanderbilt Saturday. I'm not calling it a must-win. Some people have. I will be very curiously watching that game. But they have now lost 5 straight games, have the Tennessee Volunteers, by double digits. They started playing football at Tennessee in 1891, and they've never done that. 5 straight losses by double digits. So those of you who are on the Fire Pruitt bandwagon, that's your stat. I'm not there, so I'm passing it off. I give you permission to use it.